Welcome back to Confessions of an SEO. This is Carolyn Holzman, and I'll be your host for this episode. So, going back to the kind of recurring segments, this one is going to be kind of like that mailbag, finding posts on Facebook and going over them first through the eyes of a business owner and then through the SEO. So, I hope you enjoy this. Now, this one came from a Facebook where it was mostly women marketers. And so I'm just going to jump right into it. Hi, everyone. Currently, someone is taking care of our SEO and has been doing it for 6 months with little result. Now, I've been approached by other businesses promising page 1 in 3 months. Is that possible? Is it too good to be true, or am I actually missing something with the current guy? All right, so I'm going to put on my business owner hat. I get it. It can be exhausting to constantly get bombarded with marketing calls for things that I, as a business owner, I knew I should take care of and might have, but these calls were always planting seeds of doubt. And I remember a lot of times my response, at least in my head, was, all right, even if it sucks, I just don't have time to figure this out again, So here's what you may not know. First off, SEO is a long-term marketing play. It is not quick. And unless you live in a town that's so small that everybody knows everybody else, so like who would Google for anything? You just shout out your window to your neighbor and ask. But SEO, by its very nature, you must understand, takes more than 3 months. And especially if you're in a competitive market. So for the first month, typically it's getting the site outfitted for the voyage because there are a lot of websites that are just not ready for it. There may be technical things within it that have to first be identified and then corrected. Now remember, I'm talking about the website, not the business, the website. A lot of times business owners, we take offense, when someone says we need to fix your site because you may be very, very happy with what you're getting out of your business. You just want more. So you have to listen to it this way and not take it personally. So going back to those technical things, there was one time I was working on a site. It had close to 60,000 pages. And while everything indicated that it had a sitemap, it was one in name only. It wasn't even formatted properly, and it was missing some critical information. Now, once the sitemap was corrected, we also had to go through the in-house developer to fix it, which took time. And then it had to be submitted, and Google had to crawl it. Now, this sounds very quick, but that's not a complete picture. It takes Google a period of time, and that period of time is determined by Google, and they don't report back to you. They do it whenever they damn well get it done. And so it's not the clock or the calendar, your SEO person, because it could take a while before you start to see the benefits of the technical fixes. And what you need to also understand is Google itself right now is getting slower and slower. It takes it longer to incorporate new information. It's getting pickier about what it does. And so, they'll send a bot. You may be able to see that your page has been crawled, but maybe not even the whole page. And then they send a bot back a little bit later. And when I mean later, and I'm talking about in 2020, a lot of newly published content has been crawled. The Google Search Console will say it knows about it, but it just hasn't indexed it yet. There's a whole lot going on into that department at Google, and someone in SEO has identified close to like 50 different designations of page status in Search Console, and it's a mess, if you ask me. If you're an SEO person, please take this information when you see it in Search Console and don't interpret it as it's anything that you've done wrong. Right, I'm going to go back to the business owner. Okay, you also have to remember that there are other things that benefit your website. When you send out a newsletter and you generate traffic to your site that way, Google has to take some time to recalculate the value it perceives in that traffic, that traffic sort of validates certain things to Google. So the thing about it is that when people talk about an update, a lot of times they're not algorithmic updates. It's almost like they're catching up with a backlog. And when I say they, I mean Google. So back when indexing rates were faster, SEO was still a slow process, because to do too much or to be too aggressive, you could accidentally hit a tripwire with that kind of activity. Too many backlinks all at once will appear exactly like what it is, unnatural. So that could potentially trigger either an algorithmic or manual penalty. I had a client once who hated paying monthly for SEO. And we had a content strategy, but every meeting she was far more interested in paying for 1 month and have all the content just flushed right on up there. And this was at a time where the big thing was training the bots to keep coming back. 3 months, 6 months is really not long enough. In fact, I've been known to tell prospects in my client SEO past that I'd rather not start working with them if they only had a month, for whatever reason. It would be better for them as a business to take that money and burn it in their backyard than spend it. There's no value to getting a site a little bit warmed up and then stop. 3 to 6 months is nothing. Also, you have to remember, if you're trying to catch up, if you're the last person in your area, in your niche, to get started getting serious about their SEO, you have to think of it almost like a retirement savings account. If you just started saving today and you're in your 50s and someone else started in their 20s, to catch up, you better be putting a ton more money into that account than they are. In the same way, if you're trying to catch up with years of SEO work that your competitors previously had done, that they previously paid for, that's going to take some time. You wouldn't walk into your financial planner's office and give them a portfolio and say, yeah, I want to achieve 30 years of financial return within 3 months or I'm walking. Because you're probably swimming in very deep SEO waters if you're in a competitive niche at all. And if you've done nothing, it will take some time before even a good SEO can overcome that inertia. I mean, you think about it for a second. It's not how good is your SEO, it's how long have you been investing in it. When you couple that you may have some catching up to do, and the time that Google now requires to recalculate and to show those rankings or traffic changes, in short, your expectations have not been addressed as a business owner. And here's the other kicker. If your SEO person hasn't prepared you properly or with any clarity, don't think it's because they're tricking you. More than likely, they don't even fully appreciate what I just shared with you. And I'll address that shortly. So, what could have been missed by you with your SEO guide? Okay, well, do you talk with them? Now, by that I mean interact. When they reach out to you, are you too busy to take their call? I'll admit myself, when I look back on things, sometimes I would make a choice, and while it wasn't SEO, I expected that I wouldn't ever have to get dragged down into the details again. I wanted to hand things off, take things off my plate, not to take someone else on to raise, if you know what I mean. But this is where you could be missing something, and certainly where I probably missed some things as well. They might be calling you to let you know what's going on. Maybe letting you know that you might see things that don't show up in Google Analytics or Search Console. But they might want to know, how are things? Are you getting more calls? What kind of calls are you getting? Is it, like they need that kind of feedback to know, because they're probably doing some things. And also, if you've ever, I'm going to talk about rank trackers. The hesitation is only because, if you don't know what those are, but it's a thing that keeps track of where you are in the search results for various keywords, for your certain keywords. If you're one of those that only looks at rankings to know if your SEO is working, I kind of got some news for you. So if you believe, well, let me put it this way, I believe Google's been doing this for a long time. I don't think it's new. I think the only thing new is our ability to recognize it and to know what they're doing. So if you've ever searched for your business with a keyword that doesn't have your business name in it, I did that a lot. And then I would see it and I'd get all excited, and then I'd search again and I'm like, whoa, where did I go? And I'd search again and then I'd find my site. So we as SEOs are seeing that too. I have a colleague who's developed a tracker that can illustrate how ranking, it's actually more of a probability, meaning you're not always going to be number 4. You might be number 4 70% of the time and number 12 the remainder of it. You might be number 4 only 50% of the time and not in search at all the other remaining. SEO properly implemented could mean that the improvement that you're now seeing is that you rank number 4 100% of the time. So if you're looking at a tracker that captures every time you pull a report at the number 4 spot, it's naturally that if you feel like you started at number 4 and you ended at number 4, that you don't know what you paid for. Like, what did I pay for? But what you can't see is that maybe in the beginning, and this is a new way to describe this, so bear in mind that no one is keeping anything from you. We're sharing what we're seeing and discovering. So you may actually be getting a lot of really good work. Okay, we want to talk about the SEO. I think you have to understand this can be a great opportunity for education and patience. And if you are an SEO person and you're like feeling frustrated that every time let's say somebody's bouncing around in search, you have to understand that it's going to be normal for us as SEOs to be frustrated by that. But I'd like you to imagine as a business owner just how much more exponentially worse it is for them. They don't understand this. And so this is where you need to allot some time in your budget for education. And your client needs to know that you're on it and that you understand what's going on. It's normal to be at the 3 or 6 month mark and not have rock solid right home about improvements. But there are improvements. Tell them, for example, that site that I told you about that had 60,000 pages, they were showing at the beginning of the progress Google had only seen 1,500 of their pages. 30 days after submitting the correct and properly functioning sitemap, Google now saw 20,000, and their organic traffic was ticking upward. And they were educated on that fact, that while it might not completely acknowledge their full inventory of 60,000 pages, we could demonstrate that the changes that they would permit to be made on a page basis had the chance of increasing their traffic from their sales. So they now had more surface area in the SERPs. So don't be afraid to share with your client the things that Google is doing, even if you can't show them progress yet. Oftentimes, when I would know an update was brewing, I would go ahead and be proactive and let my clients know. The times when Google Search Console sends out those notices, where in effect they kind of say, oops, that's a chunk of data last month that isn't going to show in any reports, not now and not ever. Well, your client should know that. They should be made aware of it. And not that I'm under any illusion that they'd be better able to read a Search Console report, but it was more that I communicated that I was there, that they weren't alone trying to figure things out, and that they could rely and trust me to watch their back. And here's something to remember. In the absence of leadership, to quote from my favorite movie, in the absence of genuine leadership, people will listen to anyone who steps up to the microphone. Or in this case, the next time their phone rings. Well, that's all for this week in Confessions of an SEO. This is Carolyn Holzman. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the SERPs.